Hello and good afternoon. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Gregson and welcome to Shifting Lanes. Today I am in possession of the 2018 Volvo XC90. I've had this car for about a week. I have it on loan from Volvo. Thank you to them for giving it to us for this review. And this is the T6 Inscription trim. So I thought I'd take it for a drive today and give you my feedback on the good, the bad, and the ugly of this beautiful SUV. Let's check it out. If you're new to the channel, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and you check out some of our other videos, please consider subscribing. We do car reviews, we do project cars, and we do events, lifestyle, and media drive-wise. So if you do like what you see, please consider subscribing, then hit the bell icon and hit all notifications. That way you will know every time we put out a video. Before we set off, I'd like to give you a little bit of an overview of the XC90 as Volvo sees it today. So let's go over some of the specifications and the trim packages you could get with this SUV. I'm currently sitting in the Volvo XC90 T6 Inscription. That is part of the vast array of trims that Volvo gives you. You can get the T5 Momentum, which is your base model, the T5 all-wheel drive Momentum, or the T5 R-Design Momentum. The T6 all-wheel drive Momentum is the next step up. You also get a T6 R-Design and a T6 Inscription. Momentum is usually the base, R-Design is a little sportier, and the Inscription is the more luxurious package in each of these trim levels. Above the Inscription, the T6, you have the T8e all-wheel drive. That gives you a plug-in hybrid Momentum, R-Design, and Inscription, and the top of the line is called the Excellence, and Doug DeMuro actually reviewed one of those, and it is over $100,000, which is a load of money. So let's talk about this SUV that I'm in specifically. The engine is a 2-liter engine, direct injected, turbo and supercharged, which is twin charged, i4 inline 4 with 316 horsepower and 295 foot-pounds of torque. The max horsepower comes in at 5,700 RPM and the max boost is at 5,400 RPM. MPG in this SUV is 20 city, 27 highway, 23 combined, with a curb weight of 4,623 pounds for this specific model. It does get heavier as you go up in trim levels, and it gets lighter as you go down in trim levels. The T5 Momentum, I believe, is just over 4,500 pounds. The XC90 I'm currently in is equipped with air suspension, an 8-speed transmission, double wishbone front suspension, and rear integral suspension axle setup. It has hill start assist, 21-inch wheels, and a plethora of options put into it. So now that you have a bit of a understanding, let's take it out for a drive and see how it is. Let's start off with the good. The first thing I have to talk about with this SUV is the ride comfort. It is excellent, and I believe that has a lot to do with the 4-corner air suspension. It's sort of a sublime kind of experience. I don't understand how Volvo does this. I don't understand how air suspension works so well in these SUVs and trucks, but man, it is such a nice ride in here. It glides over the pavement when you're trying to mile munch on the highway. It soaks up bumps on back roads. It's just really, really good. The air suspension in this is super nice, and you can raise and lower it depending on the drive mode you're in. So there's 4 different drive modes in here, and it's a lot like the XC40 I had. There's Eco, there's Comfort, there's Off-Road, and there's Dynamic, and each one has a different suspension level setting in this because of the air suspension. So you have the car raise and lower a little bit depending on your drive mode. You also, when it's parked, the car will lower itself to its lowest position in the air suspension settings if you choose a setting in the center console, in the center screen, and that helps ingress and egress when you're trying to get in or out of the car. So that's a really, really cool feature, and that's part of the air suspension and part of this whole part of the ride quality, which is so good in this truck. I also actually took a little bit of video, which I'll show you right now. I parked next to another XC90, and it was in one of the first generation, and you can see how aired out the suspension gets compared to the old model when everything's kind of dropped and in its lowest position, which is kind of neat to see. A little compare and contrast between the old suspension or a standard suspension and this air second good thing about this SUV is it is luxurious in here. As you can probably see behind me, there's lots of leather everywhere. As I said, there's nubuck on the headliner and A-pillars, and the dash is tailored in leather. There's beautiful wood grain all throughout the doors and the center console. There's leather, soft touch leather everywhere, and the leather is super high quality. It's very soft to the touch. It feels like a really nice place to be, and it is a nice place to be. This is something that when you go for a drive, it's not necessarily just going to be your mundane commute. You're going to feel enveloped in luxury. You're going to feel enveloped in this cocoon of really nice materials and sort of a sense of stature, which is kind of exactly what Volvo is going for, and they've hit the nail right on the head with this. It's beautiful in here. I love this interior, especially in this sort of camel kind of color, and yeah, just a really, really well done interior here from Volvo. You have massaging seats, so you could be cruising down the highway and you can have just a nice road trip, and oh man, you know, my back's feeling a little bent out of shape. I've been in the car a long time. I could really use a massage or someone to rub my back. Well, good news. Your seats can do that for you. So basically all you do is switch on the massaging seats, and you have a lovely massaging setting. You have low and high, and my wife and I tried it out, and it is glorious. It is awesome, and this is the first car I've ever been in that I've actually tried the massaging seats, and I'm sold. I would love every car from here to the end of eternity to have them. So yeah, that's a bit of luxury that is super, super cool, and I absolutely love. Another nice thing about this SUV is it handles really well. I'm surprised at how well this thing handles for what it is and how heavy it is. I mean, this is a 4,600 plus pound SUV, and it definitely holds its own in the turns as far as what this is. It's no sports car, obviously, nor should it be, because that's not what it's made for. But it's super nice. Like, I'll chuck it around a turn. The camera will probably move, but it feels so much flatter than normal SUVs do, and that's super. It's really nice. My wife's SUV is an excellent car. It's a 2017 Honda CR-V, and that's an excellent SUV. But this thing is probably, I think, close to 800 to 1,000 pounds heavier. And I get that it has an upgraded air suspension, but this handles better than that car by a wide margin. So if you really need to chuck your Volvo XC90 around in the twisties, by all means go ahead. It can definitely handle it. Yet another good of this car, it has a long warranty. I know car companies do offer long warranties, but seeing that this has 48 months or 4 years and 50,000 miles as a warranty, that's really, really nice. And when you buy this particular package, at least with this press car, there are 36 months or 3 years of scheduled maintenance built into that price plan. So you don't have to pay for anything for the first 3 years other than making your car payment if you don't buy this thing outright or lease it. Again, much like the XC40, the tech in here is very good. You get, as I said, the 12.3-inch center display in front of you as part of your speedometer and tachometer, as well as a nice center screen, which is good. And you get your 9-inch touch screen in the center stack, which is also very, very nice. And the tech is just great in here. Backup parking assist, 360-degree camera, like I said, loaded to the gills with technology, including their pilot system, which is their autonomous, even though autonomous is not a thing and that's not a word. It's their semi-autonomous, driving system. And I did test it out on the highway, and it was pretty good. There were a little kind of sketchy things that happened when the lines were a little off, or when there was a break in a center median and then the line picked up again. It sometimes kind of like tweaked out a bit, but overall it was quite good. I'd say on par with Honda's CR-V system and my wife's SUV, as I said, which is a very good system too. So I think Volvo's system is good. I don't think there's a perfect system out there, but this one's pretty decent. The radar guided cruise control was much better than a lot of other offerings that I've driven. So if you're just looking for a cruise control or an adaptive cruise control, aspect, Volvo's hits it out of the park, and that's really, really good. The last thing I'll say is this thing's actually pretty quick. I don't really know how they did it, but 315 horsepower and 295 foot-pounds of torque does not sound like enough for this truck, for this SUV. Surprisingly, it picks up quite well. The throttle response is good in comfort mode. It's even better in dynamic mode. How it accelerates is very progressive because of that twin charging, because of that turbocharge plus the supercharge. It kind of surprises me a little bit. The 0 to 60 time in this SUV is 6.1 seconds, much like the XC40. I believe the XC40 was 6.2 seconds. The GTI, Volkswagen GTI, is 5.9 seconds. So you're getting into hot hatch territory with the speed of this SUV, and it'll get you out of any sticky situation on the highway or merging or trying to get out of a lane of any kind. You will be happy with its power, and it might surprise you just a little bit. The last thing I'll mention about the good in this SUV is I believe this to be the best looking SUV on the market right now made. That is new. The way this thing is sculpted, the way this thing sits on the road, the stance of the car, how far the wheels are pushed out to the side, the design of the back lights, the way the Thor's hammer is included and incorporated into the front of the car, the grille, the front fascia, the side profile. There is not a bad angle to this car. There are zero bad angles. It is so well done and so well designed. I think that also speaks to the rest of Volvo's lineup right now. We did a video on the V60 at the New York Auto Show with the exterior design lead, T. John Mayer, and he kind of gave us a little bit of a clue as to how a designer goes and designs a car, specifically the V60, because that's the one he helped design and he led the design in. With the XC90, I think there's a lot of similar traits that come across. So with all that said, let's move on to the bad of the Volvo XC90. The first bad of this car is a touch subjective. It is the leather color in here. Since this is a camel color or tan color interior of this SUV, I personally love the color. I think the color is excellent. It's exquisite. It goes really well with the black and the wood and the silver trim in here and the stitching. But a lot of people don't like tan interiors. That's not, you know, anything other than demographics right now. Most people would prefer a black interior. You can get that, but I have to talk about this car that I've been given. I don't think a lot of people will like this interior because of the demographics and because they'll like black interiors, but also tan interiors are very tough to keep clean. Now, there are leather cleaners you can use out there that get leather clean and rejuvenated a little bit to give it that, you know, OEM kind of look to it. But most consumers are not going to do that. Most consumers just want to use cars as a daily driver, get from A to B. If you're an enthusiast like me, you take care of the leather over time, and you really kind of put forth an effort into making sure that your interior is on the up and up as much as it can be, because you're going to live with that car over time for a long time. But most people don't do that. So getting a black interior might be a better call in this car because of that particular statistic. Second bad thing about this car is stuff that I've encountered during my time with it. There have been a few electrical gremlins. For example, the driver's side window stopped going down past about, I don't know, the 4 or 5 inch mark for no reason at all, and it won't go back down. It'll still go up and down normally, and the auto function works and the regular manual function works. The window itself won't go down. It looks like it almost has a child lock on it currently, which is very strange. So that's an issue. I don't know why it's happening, but that's an electrical gremlin in this car. There was a second electrical gremlin in this car, actually. The tire pressure monitoring system came on, and it was for the rear left tire. Now, I inspected the tire. There's no punctures or anything. There's no rocks in it. There's no metal pieces. So I'm not sure if it's the tire or anything, but I checked the pressure, and it was the same all the way around. The left was the same as all of the others. I put 2 PSI in it at the local quick check with some free air, and that didn't resolve the issue. I recalibrated it. That resolved the issue. So the calibration was a little off, not sure why, but it was a little strange that every wheel had the same PSI and the TPMS was going off. So another thing to think about. On the issue of electrical gremlins, nothing happened to me, but this is something that might be of concern over time. The center screen, if you do not turn it off, it gets incredibly hot. Not even just sitting in the sun. Like, I've just been driving right now, and I'm putting my hand up to the screen. The screen has been on just in this short drive. I think we've only been driving about 15-20 minutes, and it is excruciatingly hot. Almost so hot that I cannot keep my hand on it. I can, but it's very, very close. So over time, that might be an issue with this screen. And if it doesn't cool down and the screen fails for some reason because it's overheated, or there has been an overheating issue, there might be a really serious problem, and you may have to replace the screen. And as we all know, with cars, with electronics these days, especially very large screens and center stacks, that's not going to be a cheap fix. You'll probably be looking at between $1,000 and $2,000 for that kind of repair. So something to think about in the future. The third bad of this car is something I actually mentioned at the beginning of the video, and that is the extras. There are so many extras in this car that you can get the price of this car up really quick. I mean, with a base price of between $45,000 and $50,000, and just having that many trim levels to get to $74,000 just in options, that is crazy. It's so insane. I mean, I get that this is a luxury SUV, and I get that you're paying for that kind of luxury and that supremacy on the road, but man, it's a really tough pill to swallow for me when you're spending that kind of cash. And man, 20 grand on just extras, it just blows my mind. A lot of other offerings probably will do you a lot better. I mean, the Ford Explorer Sport, not in this same category size-wise, but not luxury-wise, that is probably between $45,000 and $50,000, and has everything everything that this SUV has in it, maybe minus the air suspension. I'd have to go look at the specifications of that SUV. But yeah, the options will get up there quickly. If you want all the bells and whistles, you can option these things out to 70, 80, 90, even over $100,000 with the Excellence package. So something to think about when you buy this car is, it is a bad of this SUV. The options are going to get up there real fast in price. All right, the last thing we need to talk about with the Volvo XC90 is the ugly of this SUV. And to start it off, there's a couple of questions I have that don't necessarily relate to this vehicle, but it relates to Volvo as a whole. Volvo is now it's a smaller sort of car maker. They always have been. They've never been a real massive, huge production car maker that has been on the same echelon as a Ford or a Toyota or a Honda. They were owned by Ford at one point. They are owned now by Geely, which is a Chinese automaker that now also owns Lotus. So my question is, will Geely let Volvo stay to themselves and keep the design very Volvo and keep the company focused on its Volvo roots, its Swedish heritage? A lot of these companies tend to come in and want to put, their own 2 cents in. They want to put their stamp on things. Geely has owned Volvo now, I believe, for between 5 and 10 years, and so far so good. They've let them to their own devices, which is nice. However, will they continue that path and that course of action? Time will only tell. If Geely wants to get in there and really, put their 2 cents in, bring in their own designers, and do that sort of thing, that could be an ugly of this car as well as the whole Volvo brand. So it's sort of a question mark at this point. I believe that they won't do that because Volvo is hitting sales records at this point, but you never know. Things can happen, management changes and what have you, but we'll see if this kind of holds true over time. I'm hoping it does, that Volvo stays true to its heritage and everything like that, but it could be an ugly in the future. The second ugly of this SUV is the reliability. There is a question mark about reliability for this thing over the long term. This was the first car overall that Volvo made with the twin charged engine, the supercharged and turbocharged. You get the twin charged engine in the Inscription or anything above. You also get an all-wheel drive in the T8 variants. The T5 Momentums only have a turbocharged engine. But the twin charged engine specifically, will they hold up over time? Turbocharging and supercharging itself, you do need to replace superchargers and turbochargers and pulleys and things like that over time as they do break down. This has a supercharger and turbocharger. So will those components last 2, 3, 400,000 miles? If they're maintained properly, sure. But having a double charged engine is sort of interesting. There aren't a lot out there that have that kind of setup. Reliability with the Volvo brand has been fairly spectacular over the years, though I have read online through Consumer Reports that this car only gets an above average grade. Like I said, there were some electronic gremlins during my week-long loan, and there could be some reliability issues over time. The good news about that is, like I said, there's a long warranty and a service package that you can purchase with these cars. So I would recommend, if you do, you get that service package and you make sure to get the warranty information in writing in full. And you should do that with any car, but specifically with higher end luxury cars, Mercedes, BMW, Audi, and Volvo, you definitely should get those service packages. I think that they are definitely worth it when you could have $2,000 screens go out on you. So yes, that is an ugly of this car. Reliability may be a little sketchy over the long term. The last ugly of this car is something that really bothers me, to be quite honest. The Volvo V70R is an excellent car, and that's a good family car for right now. But over time, I think I need a larger SUV if we do expand our family, and if we do need more space to move things around, or family members around that live in the area that we need maybe 3 rows for. What really kind of bothered me was, if you can see behind me, I'll maybe point the camera a little bit this way just so you can see. Over here, that is my child's car seat base. We have a Chico KeyFit 2, and it is a really good car seat. But it doesn't really fit that well back there, and you would not think that for a large SUV. Now, we're not talking Chevy Suburban style here, but this is a Ford Explorer type size, BMW X5 size SUV. It's fairly large. It's not a small SUV. This is no CRV. CRV is much smaller. However, the car seat fits better in the Honda CRV that we own than it does in here, with the space that is used. The trunk's bigger in this car, sure, yeah, absolutely. But the back seat room for the car seat specifically, when it in relation to the front seat, it fits, sure. But my wife is 5'2", I'm 5'6", and both of us would feel a little cramped in relation to the front seat if we have, in relation to the front dashboard, if we have the car seat behind it and you have to roll the seat up. I'll show you a little video of it. If not, I already have shown you a little video of it for B-roll, just to show you exactly what I'm talking about here. It is sort of cramped. Space otherwise in this SUV is excellent. So summing this up, this SUV is excellent. It rides well, it handles well, it's surprisingly quick for what it is. It was wonderful to have over the week that I had it. Our family did fit in here pretty well. I had the child in here with passengers. No one was that cramped. I just mean that over a long kind of period on a road trip. That's where you might get into sort of an uncomfortable position, or if you have taller passengers. We were fine, and everything about this SUV performed beautifully, less the electronical gremlins during my time with it. I think that if you're going to be in the market for a BMW X5, Mercedes M-Class, you need to take a look at this. Even Range Rover as well. This is a better Range Rover than Range Rover makes, with the air suspension, the way it handles, and everything you get for your money. Even though I said a lot of stuff is expensive, I think this might be a better value in the luxury segment than pretty much anything else on the market. So, with that said, can I recommend that you buy this particular SUV? Absolutely yes. You're not going to really regret the decision. If you choose to buy this or another luxury SUV, I think you should choose this. I've driven the others. I like this better. It just seems like a better package overall. So yeah, I can give this a grade of an A+ in the good realm as far as everything I've already said is concerned. It's kind of an interesting thing when you get in the Volvo family. You do kind of feel sort of like you're in a family a little bit. It's a lot like the Subaru crowd, where it's not cultish, but it's very community based. You get into the BMW and Mercedes and Audi communities, and there are communities around that, sure, but I feel like this is a really nice community to be in the Volvo community, just from owning my own, as well as seeing how everyone kind of supports each other. It's really quite nice and refreshing. So I think, yes, purchase this SUV if you're in the market. Maybe a little bit of consumer advice for you if you're in the market. Wait a year or two and then purchase this, because this being at $74,000, you're going to be spending 40 to 50, maybe even in the 30s, 2 to 3 years down the line. So the 2016s, they're going for between $35,000 and $45,000 depending on trim level now. So yes, definitely purchase. This car is this SUV is overwhelmingly good, and I think that you definitely should purchase it if you're in the market and considering it. That will do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, and also please consider subscribing, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video. You can also check out our other good, bad, and ugly reviews, which I believe one of them will be either here or here. And you can also subscribe with a button over here or here, and check out some of our other videos on project cars or lifestyle events. I'm Gregson. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you next time. See ya.